Hi guys, this is Steve. Today I'll be replacing the front brakes off of the Yamaha Big Wheel 200. We need to remove the front wheel, and to do this we'll need to remove the nut here, and we will use a 7/8 box. We need to remove the front brake cable assembly, and to do that we'll need a 10mm wrench, and we'll have to remove this wing nut. So I'm going to start off with wing nut. And I'm going to pull the cable off. Now, as you can see, there's a spring, and then on my bike I have a washer here. Actually, this little thing has a tendency to fall off, so just going to put that inside like that. Okay, so now to remove the wheel, I'll have to remove this 7/8 inch nut, and to do that I'll use this 7/8 socket and a 3/4 socket wrench on the other side to hold it. I just loosen. I have a washer and a nut. So then I just lifted the bike off of the floor just a few inches, and I'm just going to use a hammer and push the axle rod out from this side. Okay, so I've removed the wheel, and it's set on its side. So now I have access to the front brake assembly, and now this whole thing is dirty, and there's a rust. So to be able to work on the front brake assembly, I'm going to remove the 4 bolts holding the assembly to the wheel. And that's it. Now I'm going to remove the drum brake assembly off of the wheel hub. I guess that's what it's called. With a 12mm key. Now I just have to pull out this bracket here. Just put that aside. And this comes apart. Alright, so next I'm going to use a 3M pad here, abrasive pad. I'm just going to go and clean the inside, and just be careful not to breathe in the dust, because it could be full of asbestos, depending on the brake pads. So I'm going to do this outside. Okay guys, so what I did is I cleaned the inside of the drum brake assembly, and after looking at the brake, after removing all the dust and mud, I'm actually going to keep these brake pads or shoes because they're still good. The brake linings should be between 2 and 4 millimeters. And these are over 3.42. When I look at the new brakes from EBC Brakes, they're the exact same brake shoes. It's also at 3.4 millimeters. So turns out that my problem was that my brakes were just dirty and they don't need replacement. So what I'll do is just going to open this up and do a nice cleaning and put everything back in as is. So what I'll do is I'll just remove the springs. Springs look good. I'll clean up these brake shoes, clean out the inside here. The 10mm key, I'm going to remove this lever here, the brake lever, and I'll clean it up. There's a little notch here, and I'm going to just put a mark to remember where it's supposed to go when I place it back onto it. I'm just going to clean it up, put some grease, and put it back in. So what I did is I cleaned out the inside of the brake assembly. I'm going to put things back together. I'm going to put some grease here. Now that this is in, this is supposed to point up. Then when I go back on this side, I'm going to align the notch here with the line that I had made before. There. I'll put the bolt. Using a 10mm key to tighten the bolt. What I did is I cleaned off all the dust and the mud off of the old shoes, and I'm going to be using the same ones. So you can't go wrong, because you'll see this is the way they're going to go. Okay, I'm going to put a bit of grease here. There. So the two springs are attached. Once I've put the bottom part at the bottom, I can just pull, and there you go. So the way it works is that when you put on or apply the brakes, the cable pulls this lever, and on the inside you see how it works. It actually spreads apart the brake shoes. So as you can see, as you pull apart the shoes, this is the wheel that's turning. It actually starts to rub inside, and this is where you get your braking power. The brake assembly back. Now I'll use this bracket here. Has 3 bolts. Place it inside, and then from the bottom side I'll be putting in the nuts. Okay, now with a 12mm key, I'm going to tighten. Okay, so these 3 nuts were installed. Now I can install the brake shoes. I put grease on the inner lip here so that it has some lubrication, and perhaps it might stop some water from seeping in. Alright, so everything's done here. Now I'm ready to reinstall the whole assembly back on the wheel. Use a 12mm socket to tighten the bolts or the nuts. Now it's time to place the wheel back to the axle. But before I do, I'm going to put some grease right here. And right here. So this spacer has a lip here, as you can see, and it comes and inserts itself right here, so above the oil seal. And that's why you pack it with grease. I'm also going to grease up the axle here before I put the wheel back. You have to align this notch so that it goes into this slot. Okay, so when I go to install the wheel, on the other side I have the spacer, and I'm going to start putting the axle rod from there first. But I have to align there. So this has to go inside the slot. There you go. The washer and the nut. So now I'll use the 7/8 box here to tighten, and I'll have to use the 3/4 inch key on the other side to hold it in place. I've tightened the nut, so now my wheel is reinstalled. I can go ahead and install the brake cable. So I'll put in the spring, the washer, and this will go through the holes here, and I can insert the cable like this, and then tighten the wing nut using the 10mm key. I'm just going to hold this nut and I'll tighten the wing nut. So that's it. I'll have to make some small adjustments. Okay, because now I know that I have some brakes at the front, but I'm just going to fine tune it a bit more. I'm just going to put some grease on the outside. It should help prevent dust and water coming inside or going inside. I don't know if it's going to actually do anything, but just wanted to try it out. And in case you're wondering how I was able to lift my bike off the ground, I used this pulley. So that's about it, guys. I cleaned out the brakes and put everything back together, and I should be good to go for another